Good morning and welcome back to another What I Meal Prep for the week. I apologize in advance for my voice. I've caught a cold from one of the girls, so my voice is a little bit stuffy. But I have a lot of really fun recipes and components that I want to prep ahead of the week, so let's get into it. So I have 3 separate bowl ideas that I want to make us for lunch this week. They each include a different base grain, so I'm going to cook those on the stove now. One of them is Freekeh, the other one is red rice, and the last one is short grain brown rice. While those are cooking, I'm going to finally peel the garlic that's been soaking on the windowsill for a couple of minutes, and then I'm going to nip out to the garden and harvest the vegetables that have been overwintering that I'm going to be using today, namely parsley and cabbage kale. I didn't have enough pots with lids to cook all 3 grains at once, so this is the Freekeh. It just finished up, so I'm gonna let it cool in a glass container, and then I'm gonna put on the red cargo rice, and then we can go outside. I honestly think that chard is just one of the most beautiful vegetables. I mean, the colors on this are just so gorgeous. Okay. It's a little behind schedule, so I'm not going to worry about the Swiss chard because I hadn't actually planned to harvest it, but it was just looking so good. So for now, instead of trying to cut it up and prep it for the week, I'm just going to put it in this linen bag and put it in the fridge, and I can worry about it later so that I can actually start working on the recipes that I want to get done today. So now that I have most of my ingredients ready, I'm going to move on to my recipes, starting with my dips and my dressings. So I have a peanut dressing, a tahini dressing, an herb sauce, and a parsley vinaigrette using the parsley that I got from the garden. So now that my peanut dressing is finished, I'm going to move on to the tahini dressing, and I just want to make a little note that if you are looking for tahini to use, I cannot recommend this one enough. It's the Al Nakheel Lebanese tahini, and it's got this gorgeous texture. It really is like nice and smooth. It's so creamy. It works really, really well in dressing. So I use exclusively this. I have about like 6 in my cupboard at any given time in case I run out. If you're somebody who likes a little bit of kick like I do, I would definitely recommend adding in this harissa. I mean, this brand in particular is a little bit spicier than others, but any kind of harissa will do. I just add in a little bit to give it a nice spice. So the last sauce that I'm going to make is my easy herb sauce, which I have the recipe for in my first meal prep video. I'm going to make it as usual, but I'm going to try adding in a little bit of pickle juice. I have a jar of pickles that I finished up, but I'm kind of curious to see how much of this I can use up in different ways to minimize waste. So yeah, I'm going to throw in a couple tablespoons of this pickle juice to see how it affects the taste. Honestly, it really works. If you're making this recipe and you have some pickle juice left over, I would definitely recommend using it. So I didn't finish everything off my list today, which is fine. I got a majority of it done, and I can pick back up tomorrow when the girls are napping, finish off the last few bits, and then I'll show you how I use all the different components that I've cooked or prepped in advance to throw together a meal, saving on time and being able to adjust it based on what I want in that moment. So I just got the girls down for their nap. I think I have about an hour, give or take, until they wake up. My plan is to finish off the big ticket items that I didn't get a chance to do yesterday, as well as prep the bowl that I have planned for lunch today. And lastly, I soaked some chickpeas last night and some dried black beans as well. The black beans will be cooked twice for like a little refried bean situation for the burrito bowl that we're gonna have tomorrow. And then the dried chickpeas are going to be cooked, and then I'm going to use them for a hummus that I want to make for like a Middle Eastern inspired lunch bowl in 2 days' time. So today's lunch is the red rice tofu bowl with peanut dressing. I also am going to add in some massaged kale from the garden, and I'm going to be doing some marinated cucumber slices. I'm going to do ours in a rice vinegar and a little bit of sugar marinade, and then for the girls I'm just going to put a little bit of lime juice. I think we're also going to use some kimchi and a little bit of seaweed and some sesame seeds. In case you're watching me make this jackfruit and you're thinking it does not look like she knows what she's doing, you would be correct. I don't actually have a recipe for this. I'm just trying to test out a couple of ideas that I have. I want to make a jackfruit burrito bowl recipe. I'm not sure how I want to cook the jackfruit yet, so I'm testing it on the stovetop this time. The similar style to a recipe from the Leon cookbook for a jackfruit tinga, like similar method but totally different flavors. And if this doesn't work, then I'm also going to try putting it in the oven. I made this barbecue jackfruit for a vegan cooking course that I did in 2021. It was amazing. Maybe it was 2020. I really loved, and I want to try and recreate that as well, and that goes into the oven. But obviously I'll be using burrito flavors, not barbecue. The last step that I have today for our red rice bowl is I'm actually going to make a little peanut dressing for the girls. The dressing that we have has a lot of vinegar, soy sauce, salt, which I think would be okay at this stage in really small amounts, but I'd rather just omit it. I didn't know if we were going to be eating lunch together or not. Sometimes with their nap schedule it doesn't always line up for lunch, but since we are going to be eating lunch together, I'm just going to make them a little version of the dressing so they don't feel like they're missing out. Happy birthday. You okay? Okay, I feel like at this point of the week, I should probably just come to terms with the fact that I wouldn't consider this necessarily like quick. I definitely have planned more involved recipes this week because I had so many ideas of like different things that I wanted to try. So yeah, I mean, like yesterday, for example, I spent about like an hour putting all that together, and the goal, I suppose, with meal prep is like to cut back on time, ideally so that I can kind of throw things together and maybe only cook 1 or 2 components, but because I've picked out bowls that have like 6 or 7 different parts, and I didn't manage to do everything when I was meal prepping, I definitely am still like having to do a bit of work while the girls are napping. But all in all, I think considering how much I wanted to get done this week, it was obviously like a huge help. We're still here. I'm like practicing out the recipes and everything. So I think, you know, this week is probably more involved than most weeks would be, but that's okay. So I'm just gonna roll with it, and I just will not put into the description that this is necessarily like quick, but these are just different ways that I might go about, like if I wanna cook a lot of different recipes and make very, very different style meals throughout the week, trying to cut down on how much I'm actually having to prep the day of is like the best way to do it. So saving time by having the grains cooked, the dressings made, and an idea of like what I want to put them with is obviously going to save me time. It's just not necessarily like quick stuff to do. So yeah, today is the burrito bowl day. I prepped the jackfruit yesterday. It turned out pretty good in the end. I just had to add in a bunch of passata and water and let it cook in that for much longer to really soften up. I think what I'm going to try and do now is throw it in the oven on a baking sheet and see if it'll like crisp up a bit, which I think that'd be really nice. And then I'm going to reheat the sweet potatoes and the short grain brown rice in the oven. And while that's going, I'm going to make an avocado yogurt sauce. I have a couple of pickled onions left over from last week, so I'll just use those. And then I also have a creme fraiche from Oatly, and then the lettuce is already prepared. So today actually isn't going to take that long. I just have to make the avocado sauce and maybe cut up some tomatoes. I don't like making the avocado sauce ahead of time just because I feel like the color gets a bit wonky even if it still tastes good, so it's better to do that fresh. So yeah, all in all, today's not too bad, and I only need like 2 or 3 more things for tomorrow, so it should be good. Paper, so I'm just gonna have to use all these bits and bobs to make up an entire baking sheet. Because I want this to do more than just reheat and I actually want it to crisp up a little bit, I'm going to throw it into the oven first. And then once I see that it's starting to get going, I'm going to add in the sweet potato and the short grain brown rice into the oven. We don't have a microwave at the moment because I ran out of space for ingredients and we don't really use it that often anyways. So the handy thing about prepping food and putting it into a glass container that's oven safe is that I can just chuck it all into the oven for a few minutes and heat it up instead of having to worry about a microwave as well. The girls is about to wake up, so I'm gonna go grab her and then finish heating everything up before the other one wakes up. And then I'll put them in their chairs and I'll serve us up all our food. Sure. Yeah, mama photo. Good morning! I think we're on like day 3 of cooking from what I meal prepped for the week. I'm going to be making the Middle Eastern inspired freekeh bowl. I have freekeh that I need to reheat. We run through the sweet potatoes way faster than I anticipated. I can't keep up with how much the girls are eating, so I've just put some more sweet potatoes in the oven. And then I saw in the fridge that we have a red cabbage that needs to be used up, so I'm going to use a vegetable peeler to shave it really finely. And then I'll let it sit in some lime juice for a little while the sweet potato finishes. I just made a fresh batch of hummus using the chickpeas that I cooked a couple days ago, and I have some rocket or arugula that I'm going to dress with that parsley dressing, like the vinaigrette that I made. So I'll have the hummus, the tahini dressing, sweet potato, freekeh, red cabbage, and I think that's it. I'll have another look and see if there's anything else that needs to be used up. I still have some items left from earlier in the week, like the peanut dressing that I've already used once that I'm going to need to finish off, so maybe for tonight or for tomorrow I'll make like a noodle salad or something using the peanut dressing and some vegetables that are going soft. Now that we're kind of at the end of the week, it's more just about using everything that's up before we go grocery shopping again. I found some aubergines in the fridge, so I'm actually going to poke them with a fork about 7 to like 8 times throughout, and then I'm going to throw them in the oven with the sweet potato. They need about the same amount of time and the same temperature in order to like fully cook through, so I thought I might as well just use them. So now that I'm on the final stages of using up what I've had, I'm going to be trying to just throw together whatever I can think of. I've made the 3 main bowls that I wanted to make using like the ideas that I had to see if they would taste good, and now I just want to try and make use of everything. So I'm going to be making a ciabatta sandwich with the leftover herb sauce and tahini dressing. I have some leftover roasted aubergine as well, so I'll throw that in, some smoked tofu, either pickles or cucumbers, roasted bell pepper, and then I want to make a salad on the side. So I think I have some leftover freekeh, and I also have some rocket that needs using, so I'll put those 2 together and I'll dress it with that parsley vinaigrette and make a little bit of a lunch from it. One of the girls are gonna wake up, so I'm gonna go grab her before she wakes up the other one. But I forgot to mention that last night I wasn't able to film it, but I did finish off the peanut sauce by making this really easy stir fry. I sauteed red onion, I cut courgette into like thin sticks, and then I sauteed that for a while until both of those were soft. I added in some Chinese cabbage that I had left over from making kimchi, and then I threw in ready-made udon noodles, as well as the peanut dressing and a little bit of hot water, just to kind of loosen it up. And then I topped it with cilantro and cashews, and it took me like 15, 20 minutes max from start to finish to get it on the table, which is really handy at night. I'm still figuring out the logistics of filming at night, but yeah, that's another really easy way. I mean, if you make a peanut dressing, it can be for a bowl, and then you can leave some left over and just throw it into a stir fry, especially if you have ready-made noodles. Like, sometimes these shortcuts are just so handy.
just very slowly.